What if your physical pain or your physical symptoms, what if they're not just physical? What if they're holding a message? What if they're giving you a message from your family system, a message that's a lot deeper than just the physical pain or the physical suffering that you have in your body? Today, I'm going to talk about this, about the physical symptoms, the physical pain, the physical things in our bodies, specifically symptoms, which could be obviously a range of things here, and how they're linked to our family system, the lineage, our ancestors, and things that we may be unconsciously holding on to and that we can actually release and let go of. A few videos back, I mentioned how Family Constellations has helped me with many things, especially on various occasions with physical symptoms that were going on in my body, that I would go to the doctor, I'd get medical exams, tests. They're like, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. And there's two specific moments in my life that I remember that I actually leaned on family constellations to help me through it because I wasn't finding answers through doctors, getting medical tests, even taking medication in some cases. The most recent one, which is probably the clearest and the most easy to remember, was back in 2018, I believe. If it wasn't 2018, it was 2019. I'm trying to remember the dates while I'm really, really bad with dates. So I want to actually rewind a little bit. When I was probably around 7, 8 years old, I would get these allergic reactions, like my face, my eye, my lip would swell up. Like I'd have like a swollen lip. And I remember going to the doctor with my mom and they're like, no, she's fine. She doesn't have anything. Um, and I got a bunch of tests done and I was allergic to some like very rare tree. They're like, that tree barely exists. Like the odds of it being in your yard or near your house is like not, it's probably not the case here. They were kind of just like, just know that you're allergic to this. I was like, okay, I don't even remember what tree it was. I was so little. And it would happen in moments that I now looking back understand it was moments of stress. The second time that these allergic reactions, these were two things that would show up. It was hives or urticaria, I don't even know how to pronounce that. And my face would swell up. So sometimes it'd be my eye, sometimes it'd just be the whole side of my face or a portion of like my cheek and my lips, different parts of my lips. Sometimes it's just 1/4 of my lip, like the top or the bottom. Um, and if I'm not mistaken, I wrote it down here. That's angioedema. So I remember speaking to my doctor when it happened most recently. So when we're moving back with my family here to Uruguay, um, out of nowhere, I just start getting this allergy. So I start breaking out in hives every single day at the same time. When I say break out in hives, I mean from the top of my head to the tips of my toes. They were like these huge, huge mosquito bites. Some were a couple centimeters long, a couple like inches long. Uh, and I was on medication for a bit to try to take it away, but it wouldn't go away, and it would happen every single day. At the time, I didn't, we went to the doctor. I was put on some, I think like cortisone stuff, sorry, cortisone medication, which I remember seeing photos of myself at that time, and my whole body just was inflamed. And it covered up the symptoms, but it also, my body didn't feel well. You can't be on that stuff a long time, I think. So I was only on it for a couple weeks, and then the allergies or the supposed allergies subsided. Fast forward years, years, years later, I'm traveling and I find out a friend of mine who was battling cancer for a few years. I get a message from one of her friends. We had met it was a mutual friend. She's like, Lorena, I'm really sorry to tell you, she's passed. And she had been battling cancer for a while. And in the moment I was traveling, I was around people I didn't really know that well. They weren't my friends. I was with somebody that I cared for at the time, but I was in a position where I couldn't really just feel. I couldn't express myself. I didn't feel that at least. Um, and a couple hours later, I was already breaking out in hives and my face was swelling up. It got pretty bad. It got really bad, actually. It kept getting worse. I think like a week and a half later, when I get back home, I was living in Cayman at the time. I remember thinking, what if this isn't like, because I knew that this had been something that happened various times in my life where there was something emotional going on, and I had probably repressed things, but I wasn't really, it wasn't clicking. Like I'm one of those people, a lot of times I need like the actual confirmation, like tell me I actually, I'm not, didn't like create an, I kept thinking there's something giving me this allergic reaction. So I was like, okay. So when I get back, I remember the first day I get back home, my entire face is swollen, but swollen to a degree that was scary. I was like, what if my throat closes? What if my throat closes on me and like I can't breathe? Like I started freaking out. So I go see my doctor. She recommends I get some allergy tests. Allergy tests all come back fine. I remember breaking down with the doctor. I was like, look, could this be emotional? He looked at me and he said, yes, this can be emotional. It can happen. It's not impossible here. And you're obviously not allergic to anything. Once I had that confirmation, it gave me like the peace of mind to understand that this was linked to the emotions because it happened hours after. And I knew it, but I just needed like the external confirmation, right? So I start kind of going into the emotions of it, working through it with my therapist. I started therapy up again at that time. And then I think like 6 months later, because I was still getting them, they weren't going away. There's a lot of unprocessed emotions. And to me, it was also bringing up old things that I was cycling through and kind of healing. Um, and when I come back to Uruguay, I think 6 months later, I went to do a family constellation on this physical symptom of the allergies and the face swelling. And oh my gosh, there's such a release in that session with the constellator. Like I broke down. Like I remember crying, all of the tears, all of the emotions that I hadn't been able to feel up to that point with losing this friend all came through and I felt it and it was amazing. And I remember we looked at different aspects because they always bring it back to your family and it was, with my mother and my grandmother um and other like associated griefs in my family system. And I remember thinking, wow, like this isn't just about my friend. This is a lot deeper. And this is also a symptom. My body will always speak to me when something's going on. So I've gotten to a point now where I trust it a little bit more, even though I need sometimes those confirmations. But that was the only way these allergies went away. I'm using air quotes here because it's like someone would have thought I was crazy. Like you're not allergic to anything. Why are you getting an allergic reaction? It makes no sense. And it wasn't food. It was the emotions in my body that I wasn't able to connect with and release. The same thing happened those years back when I moved because I repressed everything as well. So there's like a common theme here of repressing emotions and feeling like I'm in a moment that I can't feel them, or I block them, or I don't want to inconvenience somebody, or I feel like I can't let it out. And yeah, the family constellation really helped. It helped a lot. Like it was the catalyst for me to get rid of it completely. It came back here and there a little bit when as I was still processing this grief with my friend, um, but mostly went away. And I've seen this in several people that I know where they've gotten, like hives, for example, and they were also going through very emotional things. So our body speaks to us. We have these symptoms for a reason. We're there to, it's guiding us to look at something a little bit deeper within ourselves. The other story was of my intense hip pain that I had for a year and a half. And this was like in my early 30s. And I remember it just came on one day. I was kind of training for like a half marathon and I loved running at that time. And all of a sudden one day just that it was on my right hip. It just hit me and I couldn't cycle, I couldn't run, I couldn't do my spin classes. I kind of just had to stop, which obviously like looking back now I'm like, wow, that was such an interesting way to look at it from the outside. Like my body was telling me to stop and to feel what I needed to feel and not try to distract myself with something else. And that was a bit of a wake-up call after realizing all of this of what I was actually holding, what I was holding in my body, and what that actually meant later on. So when I did that constellation, that was linked to pain that my mom was, well, I was kind of holding on to for my mom with her losing her brother, which was also very tragic and really sad. And he was very young and he was also in his like early 30s. And it was sudden, it was tragic, and it was weird because I think there's a part of me that felt like I was also going to die young. And I think when I hit my early 30s, I was like, I might die too. Like we're all going to die. Obviously, we know at some point our physical body is going to deteriorate. Our soul's obviously eternal, but um, there's something about that age that I was unconscious that hit me, and it was almost like I was reconnecting to that pain. And it was also the only time in my life that I had seen my mother in that much pain. She had gone into a really deep depression. I'd never seen her cry and be so sad in my life, and I think something still had stuck with me. So something got triggered at the time. Sometimes we don't understand why things get triggered. That might be something that unconsciously is connected to a family member or a time or an age. It could be very random. But I was able to see that through the family constellation. That was the same constellator I worked with both times, by the way. She's amazing. Um, and I remember the pain leaving my, it literally like left my body. Like I went home the next day, I'm like, oh my God, it doesn't hurt anymore. It's gone. I I did that work at that moment and gave it back, that pain back to my mom, back to her brother, back to whoever else was like I was holding on to it for. Um, and those were two huge moments that it proved to me that there are things that we hold as symptoms in our body, conscious and unconsciously sometimes. Because I was conscious that I was grieving my friend's passing, and I also knew that I was holding back my emotions at that time because I was in a situation where I couldn't just lock myself in my room and cry and feel sad. I was around people. And this was a reflection of a lot of other things as well, like um, things that were going on at that time for me and that I was feeling also repressed in other ways. Um, so yes, our body can show us a lot of things through physical symptoms that are connected to pain that's ancestral. It could be our family. It could be our immediate family. It could be people we never met. And it's there. We can't ignore it. The beautiful thing is that once we connect to that in a session, that pain, whatever hasn't been seen or has been rejected or has been pushed away, we hold space for it. We look at it, we feel it, we let it go. And that shifts everything in our entire reality, but also our body, our family, the people around us. It helps clear up space, it helps us feel more peaceful, more grounded, more centered. It's also important to understand that a lot of times these physical symptoms in our body, why was that hip pain coming in? Why was those symptoms of allergies coming up in my body? It's almost like a message, a connection to love, right? That we love that person, we unconsciously connect to that pain. It could be our mother, our father, it could be anything, right? Anybody in our family, in our system, that we love them that much that we'll hold on to the pain for them unconsciously. We don't even realize we're doing it a lot of times. And that's the tricky part because a lot of times when we get too stuck in our head about something like, oh, this has to be this, like one plus one is two, we don't realize that our emotional body is constantly connecting to things and it can bring up symptoms. It can bring up things. We can have to start to look and face things that we're ignoring or we've been ignoring for a while. I think a lot of times the symptoms can feel like, for me, I tried to look at, especially I think the allergies, because they were, I'd have to sometimes go into the office and go to work. My eye would be all swollen, or my lip, or my whole cheek would be swollen. I'd break out in hives in the middle of the day. And I tried to look at it with love, right? I tried to be like, okay, I know I don't have allergies, and this is coming up because it's trying to show me and help me with something that I'm slowly looking at it. I'm trying to deal with, and there's a lot of pain here, so I need to be gentle with myself. And a lot of times those symptoms are just helping us see something bigger that we can't see if something doesn't show up. Something has to get in the way. Like, for example, for me, the hip pain got in the way of me doing something that I really loved. And it was helping me see that there was a lot of pain there that was unresolved in my family, that somebody hadn't fully looked at. And I was there to help with that through holding space for it, through feeling it in my body, and through allowing myself to just let it go. These physical symptoms can come in. I mean, these are just two examples, and these are personal examples, obviously, but this can come in so many ways. For some people, it could be their physical body won't be able to let go of weight, right? You feel like you're trying to lose weight. That's a really good one that a lot of times I speak to people about. I have like a little list here so I don't forget anything. Just chronic pain in general, right? Anything chronic that you cannot get rid of, that won't go away, that just is there in your face over and over again, and it's very hard to live your life. That's a big one. Autoimmune issues, like those are also something that you can look through the lens of family constellations. Skin issues, like I said, this is just one example, but it could be eczema, it could be anything skin related. The skin is a huge organ in our body. Obviously, it's the biggest organ that we have, if I'm not mistaken. But the skin is a big, big one because it's so in your face. It's like you have to look at this. You cannot ignore this anymore. This could be acne. This could be a lot of things. Fertility issues. Lucia, my sister, and I, even through comparing notes with certain themes that we saw coming up in family constellations and Akashic records, started to see a lot of themes come up with fertility and specific relationships in the family system. And I see this as well because I've worked with a few people that have had issues with this, and we've come through different dynamics. Obviously, every family system is different. Digestive issues, those are a big one. These are just some examples, but anything physical. I mean, there's bigger things, right? Like cancer, um, different diseases. Those are all things that you can bring to a family constellation and look at through the lens of the family system to see, what is this representing? What is this showing me? What am I supposed to look at? What am I supposed to release? What am I supposed to bring more love to? And a lot of times it's almost like this reflection of a burden that's been carried on generation through generations. And if you're feeling something physical in your body and you're not finding answers, usually it's a burden that's been carried for a while, and that somebody is there to see it and feel it and let it go. I think this is a really good message for any of you that are struggling with any physical symptoms or looking for answers. I remember, even with my hip, I remember getting an MRI, doing physical therapy. Um, I did so many things. Like, I got all the tests done, blood work, everything. And I remember the doctor looking at me and like saying, "But there's nothing wrong with you. Like, I don't understand where this pain's coming from. Like, you shouldn't have it." And that's what like clicked for me. I was like, I shouldn't have it. Like, this this isn't part of me. There's something I need to let go of. This pain's just a reflection of that. So I think a lot of times, like what a session can do, like a family constellation session can do, is just help bring awareness. And I'm not saying that necessarily one session can make the pain go away. For me, like the hip pain did go away like that. It was instant. With the grief with my friend, it took a little bit longer because now I understand that it wasn't just about her grief. It was about a lot of other things going on in my life. And it was also the repression that had been going on with my emotions over a long period of time and that I still work through. So, every now and then I'll get a little bit of hives every now and then when I know that I'm not processing my emotions, which is interesting. And it's almost like a little reminder for my body, like make sure you're paying attention to what you're feeling, connect with that, express it, especially expression. For me, it was more like expressing the emotions I was holding in my body. Um, and whatever I had held on to for my mom, there were also my own emotions involved with that. It was all intertwined and entangled. And it was really interesting going through that process. So that took months after the constellation to really just let go of it. But I felt a relief pretty quickly after that session. And I think I'm just really just doing this video for you to understand my own journey with it and why symptoms can be a really good thing to constellate because I think sometimes we don't really understand that these things can be emotional and they could be really grounded in ourselves, but many times they could be grounded in ancestral and family things that I remember when my mom's brother came up in the constellation with my hip pain, I was like, what? Like, I'm not even thinking about that. That's not something that's even been in my radar really at all. And we hadn't been thinking about him. We hadn't been talking about him. It was just there. And one day it just comes up. And that's the thing. It could feel so random, but that's been sitting there for years and years and years until somebody is ready to see it and heal it and look at it. And I think this video is really just a reminder that there's many ways that we can heal things. So I did all of the doctor things. I went on a diet. I took out all these foods and things, but none of it really helped me. But it was more taking care of my emotional state and being able to feel and express myself that brought me back into alignment. So if you were to come to me for a family constellation and you were to bring up this topic of a physical symptom that you have in your body, we would first have a chat. We would have a little bit of a back and forth around 20, 30 minutes. And we would chat through about your family. We would chat a little bit about how you're experiencing that, what it's been bringing up in your life, how you feel, um, and just kind of get an overall kind of little, it's a bit of I call it like a bit of an interview process where we kind of chat through things and you can express and I can ask you questions. And then from there, we would set our very, very direct objective and intention and go straight to work in the constellation. And to look at that symptom that you have in your physical body through the lens of family constellations. And usually constellation is about 45 to 60 minutes. And it's deep work. You come to realizations, you understand things from another perspective. It's very, very eye-opening. And it's very loving because I think there's nothing more loving than being able to see something through the eyes of somebody that wasn't able to process that pain or that you didn't even understand it, right? Because you might have been too little or you weren't born yet. It could have been something that somebody else in your family experienced. So it's very humbling, I think, a lot of times of understanding that there's so much pain there and we don't even realize it because we're in our minds, we're in our day-to-day, we're moving ahead, we're moving along, we're distracted, and we're not necessarily realizing that there's a lot going on underneath and unconsciously. So it's really interesting. It's really interesting the work and what can come up in a constellation to help heal and the awareness that a constellation brings into how we're experiencing things, but also this awareness of what's actually going on in our emotional body because so much is blurry or blurred out when we're busy, right? The awareness is such a big, big, big part of a constellation that I always say like the healing comes from two aspects. One is being able to physically see this internal system out in front of you, right? On the camera. I do these on Zoom. And another part is what we feel in that constellation and the healing phrases that come up that you can recite and say and feel, and it moves all the energy in the system. It's energetic work, right? But it's very much a therapeutic tool because we can understand things, we can feel them, we can see it from different perspectives, we can give things their place, put things in order, and kind of get the flow of things moving again without things getting stagnant. A lot of people come to me for blocks, even financial, emotional, physical blocks, right? That they have going on in their life, or in their body too, right? They feel disconnected from something, or things don't seem to be flowing in their life. And a family constellation can be a really good way to look at things and be able to bring love and light to it and move it. Any questions, please comment below. I'd love to create more content around this. I want to bring more awareness to this tool and really just help you understand that this is a really valid way to help you with so many things. And a lot of people explain this, and this has been my experience as well, of it's almost like a fast track to therapy, because a lot of times we'll go in circles with things in therapy, and which is good. I love therapy. I go to therapy. But a lot of times it could be a fast track just to look at something specific. And then from there, you continue to do your therapy, but it could be something that you kind of like intermix in there and move through things and help move energy forward. And the realizations that one can have in a family constellation are incredible. So please comment anything that you guys like, any questions you have, anything that you're wondering, or if there's something I didn't go into here that you would like me to go into around family constellations. Please comment below. And obviously, trying to bring more awareness to obviously the Akashic records, family constellations, flower essences. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with anybody that you think it could help. And I'm here for any questions, anything that you need, and I'll be back very soon with another video. Thanks, guys. Bye.